This podcast is brought to you by the Network by Barber Academy, our online education platform which gives you 24/7 access to on-demand HT tutorials from award-winning stylists. Discover and explore more by visiting thenetwork.education. All right. What episode do we have now?
25, is it? 25.
25. Yeah. 25. How does it feel, Gareth? This is the podcast now.
Yeah, I know. I got that.
I'm well
you were
aware.
Just asking me how I feel randomly, to be honest.
well aware.
But how does it feel being a guest? Because you have your own podcast, don't you?
I do have my own podcast.
Shout out to your own podcast.
Spoken podcast. Link in bio. No, if you jump on the Barber Academy page, I'm pretty sure Arthur has put it in the link. If not, I'll have to do it now. So then people can jump on.
Well, not now. Like it will be a few
not
weeks.
Not right
before,
now. Yeah.
Before this comes out, it'll be a few weeks.
You guys have gotten backed up, So.
We're taking this podcast all over the world. We're in Brisbane today.
Oh, it doesn't stop, does it?
Where are we? What's this place?
This is Wollongabba. I mean, it says it literally on the post office opposite, but that's all right.
But if you don't want to take any notes, that's fine.
You're really taking holiday mode into everything, yeah?
Honestly, though, look at the name as if it's easy to read. I don't have dyslexia, but I wish I did because, I always wanted to be successful in life.
Use your superpower.
Because you have to have dyslexia to be successful, That's funny because somebody in the Kerwin Ray course actually said that. They're like, Kerwin, I really want to be successful in business, but I don't have ADHD or dyslexia.
I got them all. I got I feel like it's kind of like a bingo thing with me. It's just like something pops up and I'm like, oh yeah, sweet. Yeah, I'll mark that one off. I got that one. Must have that one. Yeah, sweet. I got that one.
Surely I've got that one.
It's like house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good times.
I reckon I'm self-diagnosing myself with ADHD. I reckon I'll have a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may as well. Everyone else does.
Fuck it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, fucking add
Join the crowd.
Put it in the bio on Instagram.
ADHD.
ADHD in recovery.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, Gareth, give us a little bit of an introduction. Who are you? Where are you from? One thing you're grateful for.
I've done this the last 4 days, so I should nail it. All right, so my name's Gareth. I'm the owner of the Barber Academy Australia as well as the Hair Academy Australia. A little bit about myself. Moved to Australia when I was 16 years old, 2006. Just finished my GCSEs back in Wales, and we came here on holidays for 2 weeks with my mum. And she was kind of like, did you like it? I was like, yeah, it was really good. She goes, oh, good, because we're moving back here in 2 weeks. So it was a bit like just thrown on me, which was fantastic. So yeah, that was a bit of a kind of a wake-up call for me to go like, oh wow, okay, I'm moving to the other side of the world. Didn't think much of it at the time, but now when I reflect back on it, it's a little bit like, I'm sure you two feel exactly the same, but it's a bit like, yeah, that is literally over the other side of the world. So yeah, it's a bit full on. But yeah, moved to Australia, kind of like a new life. I felt like I could just do whatever I wanted because I was at that kind of age where I was just like, I can do whatever the hell I want. So yeah, went back to school, which was probably the worst decision of my life. Should have gone and done like a trade and stuff like that. Like I was 10 and newly. I got offered a plumbing apprenticeship when I was 16 years old. And my mum was like, don't do that. There's no money in plumbing. No money in trades whatsoever. Which, looking back now, was great knowledge from my mother. Due to the fact that the guy who offered me that apprenticeship was 25 at the time. And he's, what is he now? He'd be coming up to 40 and fully retired. Owns about 6 properties. So yeah, it was great. Really glad I gave up that plumbing apprenticeship. And yeah, that could have been me, but there you go. I still hang that on my mum every single day. I'm like, remember that opportunity you took from me? So, no. But yeah, kind of, my whole plan was to go into the police. That was it. I was just like, my mum had always said from day one, she was like, oh, go into the police, like, safe job, like, good career path and stuff like this, which at the time I thought, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then I learned how much they got paid, how many hours they do, and I was like, hang on, that's the worst idea ever. So I did all the training for it and stuff like that. Actually went for the interview, as they call it, and just something wasn't right. I know we've been speaking about it the last couple of days about how just something happens and you go, hang on, whoa, that happened for a reason. And yeah, that was the thing. We caught the train up to Brisbane. My mum came with me, believe it or not, 21 years of age. She came with me to an interview. Hence why I've got mum's boy tattooed on me. Can't do anything on my own. And yeah, just like, it was a horrific train ride the whole way. I still remember it. Just like, I was in a suit, just sweating my ass off in the middle of summer, going, what the hell am I doing? I was like, I don't want to do this. So went up there, passed all the interviews and everything, and I was like, they offered me a position and went, nah, I'm not doing that. So yeah, went into a bit of a more of a fitness kind of thing due to my sporting background. And then yeah, just suddenly randomly got into teaching, which at the age of 22, I think it was, just following after mum. Mum was working in a college and kind of just went, oh, you should be a teacher. And then got into teaching fitness. So, and then from there, education evolved to me owning my own RTO, which was hilarious. But yeah, I could go into that into a lot more detail. But I'm sure we'll speak about that later on.
we have time.
I done half waffle shit back then. Yeah, there you go. That's the point of a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah,
just
we have time.
Shit.
We have time. I think that's a really interesting point there, actually, at the end, because this great thing came up for us a couple of days ago where Lee was saying, like, how are you? You know, no short answers. And when you put that at the end of it, it's almost like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because like usually we always have an auto response, you know, we have a story. And yesterday with the students, we got into our stories a little bit deeper maybe than what we would have in the past, especially in an educational setting.
Yeah.
It was the first time we maybe went that deep outside of the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there is power in the story and in the storytelling, you know. So
it makes it a lot more relatable, especially our students as well. Like, it's crazy if they would have listened to the podcast. They would have known a lot more about you guys. But I think just seeing you in person and being like, oh yeah, those are the guys that I see at like sponsored by Andis, like sponsored by Dyson, and doing this, doing that, and they're like, oh wow, they're actually just in our academy today. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit like that wow moment, like what Arthur said to us yesterday. It's like that's kind of like the key people in the industry who are just in our room and they're just talking to us as if they're normal people, which is really like, it's still strange for me. And I did say that yesterday, that I'm surrounding myself with people like this. It is strange because I feel like I kind of cheated my way into the industry. But then when I hear your story about like, well, I just went boom, 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 and I was like, oh, well, actually my story doesn't sound so bad, you know what I mean? So, but then it's interesting. It's very, very interesting how that happens.
Yeah, I think that's one of Owen's powers, I think, is having that, coming in without that bias and just challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
And yeah, I held that for a long time though. You know, did the classic way of doing hair.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't think it matters anymore, does it? You know? I always think about that. People are like, oh, you know, like you said, you cheated your way in. It's like, yeah, to who though?
Yeah, no,
who's telling you that? You know,
who made the rules? Like,
who made the rules?
It's a whole group thinking thing. It's like everyone just decided that this is the story that we're going to run,
and you have to follow it.
Yeah. And like because we did it, you now have to do it as well. Yeah. It's like this the story that's running.
But I think your story there gives it a lot of context. Like, you were teaching before you did hair. It's not that you were just like, I want to teach hair now. It's like, no, you were already teaching. Like, you just changed what it was.
And you know what? There's a lot of like no regrets in there as well. Like even going through that application for the police and stuff like that, I'm sure you would have taken a lot of lessons out of that, doing that training. And
it certainly did.
You know, even though it doesn't.
Peak,
but even though it doesn't eventuate to anything. Like for me, like I was explaining to the students yesterday that I applied for the Emirates thing. Yeah. You know, even that day alone, going in there with no expectations. I remember going in there and just feeling really confident going in there, and I was like, I don't even really want this, but I'm here anyway, and I'm going to observe the situation. And I went in with the suit, and I knew I'd get it, like from the start. Like I was just like, they're going to like me, because like at the time I was still like in peak fitness from cycling. I had no beard, I was clean shaven, I was, you know, I had the nice suit on, nice haircut, like had a bit of the gift of the gab, you know, went in with a different kind of mentality, because like traveling around the world and having to meet all these new people when you're young, 17 years old,
exactly,
and having to like put yourself around adults. Most of the time I was around people that were older than me, or even people who didn't speak English, so like I always had to kind of like feel energy as well as anything else.
Yeah,
you know, like I could kind of pick up on the conversation and the energy and just be comfortable in the room. And when I went into that situation with Emirates, it was just like, it's a game of perspective. And now I've tied it back to like with the K2 Elite stuff that I do, and I went into the crew space. It's such a big group, but you know, you look around the group and like, I'm very observant of everyone's view. Like for example, on that particular day at the Emirates thing, there was people who weren't being involved in the group, you know, like there's always like the people who are more expressive personalities, and because I didn't really want it, I would get those people involved because I'm like, don't waste this opportunity. Like I would ask the people who are being quiet what their opinions were, and that as a natural consequence got me the fucking job. Yeah, because that was like a leadership quality. But like, I was gonna do it until they saw my tattoos. Like I had a few tattoos, and they're really strict on that in the Middle East. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me not doing it. But it was a great experience going through it, and that's the moral of the story there, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much to learn from them experiences.
Same with like you training people and in the fitness and everything you've done up to this point, like has led you to this point, you know, and it's perfect exactly the way it is.
Yeah.
I haven't got many of them experiences. I've just always done hair.
But that's good though.
Yeah, I think one of the standout experiences for me, I've been saying to Owen lately, as you know, I've quit coffee lately, and I feel like the caffeine, getting off caffeine has allowed me to think a bit more clearly and like reminisce. I think caffeine keeps me so like buzzed in the moment. Yeah. And now it's not there. I think a bit further out. And I was talking to Owen the other day that I was 15 when I first applied for working in a salon. I sent out 30 resumes. Yeah, no. The fucking thing had nothing on it. Yeah. Like it had my name on it, what school I went to, and just the shit that I was interested in.
Well, it's crazy, isn't it? Because it's like, I had this conversation with the barber yesterday, and I was like, well, how did you get your job in the shop? And they were like, I just walked in. And I was like, wow. I remember my mum said the same story as Yuli. She was like, I literally went all over Wales with my resume going like, please give me a go, please give me a go, please give me a go, like that. So it was like just crazy. So
and that like kind of compounds the work ethic. I think like it's not always right. I guess it's a blessing in the world that we're in now. There's so many options. Like I was listening to Gary Vee say that it's like when young kids quit, it's not because they're lazy, it's because they have options. And I do believe a lot of that. But there's something to be said for the work ethic that we built back then without all the options that we have now. It's the same. I had this thing pop into my head the other night before I come to Australia. I sold my car, so to save up. I had no car to get to work. I got a bicycle. I bought £100 bicycle. And then a similar thing, I printed out all of these hair menus, all the shit that I could do with all the prices on it. And again, I cycled around the city and posted it in people's letterboxes, just hoping somebody would want a haircut for like £20 or something. And you tell a kid they're going to do that now. And we used to do leaflet drops as well. You know, we'd walk around the streets of wherever the salon was and do leaflet drops. Imagine if you told kids they got to do that now. Like, oh, you got a quiet 100%. Hour or two? All right, go take these 300 leaflets and go do 4 blocks and post them all. They'd be like, no. Yeah, no. You know. Spin it. So, yeah, exactly. So there's lessons in all of it, and I think it builds that grit there.
I think that's where our generation really thrives. You know, like I think, you know, we're kind of that cross wire between the both. Like we're not quite as far back as like say our parents' generation is in terms of like our rigid ways, and then we can see the perspective of the youth as well, and we're kind of in the middle, so we have the good lessons from that older generation, and we can kind of incorporate the new lessons from the younger ones, because like what Gary Vee says, why would you would you know, people complain about the youth, it's like would you do it, like, and it's like no. So how can you expect anyone else to do it if you're not going to do it yourself?
And that's why I think it's so important for our like generation to step up and step into this leadership thing. And that's something that I've realized in the last few years is like, if we don't do it, who's gonna? Because like the ones we're like in the middle here. We've got, like Owen just said, we've got all this shit left over from the other generations, which again in their time was probably fine. But a lot of stuff's changed since then. And then we've got the younger generations coming through, which are kind of a product of whatever environment they come from. And I feel like us in the middle, we're a bit like, we can see both perspectives and have that 360 view and have leadership to help everybody. So important going through.
So basically we're the best generation, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, well, we already know
right
I'm the
now.
best. So
Right now,
You have the awards to prove it. Like,
I've got the blocks of glass. It's
Yeah.
fine, you know.
Yeah.
Well, what do you need?
right now, it's like I think it's we're like that generation who has the most perspective, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, like you
that's what
said,
it is. Not necessarily the best, but the most perspective. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We can see it from both ends, and I think that's a really important thing, to be able to see full 360 and take everyone's opinions and views and values into account before.
Was there a point which flicked for you guys when you thought that? Does that make sense? Because I only had this moment a couple of years ago where I went, oh, shit, I need to like grow up now. Like this needs to be like, stop. I need to start. Well, the business was a big reason behind it, and I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, one of those, what
Yeah.
the hell am I doing moments in my life? And it sounds really bad because I am still very young at 32. But it's that thing of like, it just clicked in my head. And I think, I don't even know, I remember Mum saying it to me. She was like, geez, you changed. Like as if like just one thing happened. I can't even remember what it was, but just one thing happened and it was like, oh, there you go. And I mean, I've had this conversation with you both before. If I told my dad, like I was doing breath work and stuff like that, like he would literally piss himself. Like he'd be like, what? What's that doing? Like I remember him talking about Pilates when I first got into fitness, and he's like, yeah, I used to stretch when I played football. Like, no, that's not the same thing. But it is very much like it's, my whole mindset and everything has changed. And that's down to you two. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up your asses, but it is. It's definitely given me a different like outlook, especially on life, like business especially, and the industry, but life like 100%. So yeah, you should both tap yourselves on the back for that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. Like I'm not crying.
Well, like
I'm not gonna cry, but I think
again.
what does that? I think that the big thing there is that I feel that a lot, and it's beautiful, but how sad is it that it takes that people so far away to find a safe enough space to think like that. I was the same. Like I went back home in 2018. And I was really heavy into the breath work at that time. I was heavy into the Wim Hof, and I was going hard and doing all this cold showers and shit. I remember I was staying at my brother's house, and we were sitting around eating dinner one night, and my dad's going, oh yeah, I was having Lee home, and he's like, yeah, it's great. It's just every morning I hear him fucking hyperventilating in there. It's like, I don't know what's going on. and now they're all like, oh, have you heard this guy Wim Hof?
Yeah, I love it.
I'm like, you see? So like, but it is that they do laugh about it, but it's funny, and
it's one of them classic things though, like you don't know what you don't know until you do.
Exactly.
And I think as men, like I went for a float the other day, and the lady at the flotation centre was talking to like me and two of my mates, and I actually have mates outside of the hair industry now, which
I
is
don't
kind
believe
of
that.
do you?
kind of
I
fun.
don't believe that one.
Do you?
Yeah, it's actually kind of
You have
great.
mates other than me?
Yeah.
False. Yeah, no, I was like, hang on.
Wait a second.
Friends. Does Lee know about this?
Yeah. Float friends. We actually float together holding hands.
In the same one?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the whole masculine feminine energy thing, and then we were saying, like she was saying, as men, like it might take us a long time to not realize it, but when we do, we grow pretty quickly. It's almost like a light switch goes off, and we can get there like really quickly. Versus women will always kind of just be in the feminine anyway. It's just their natural way of being, because they're developed to carry babies and stuff. We're like a different beast, you know.
I think for me, like I'm just thinking on this light bulb moment. I think I've spoken on about a podcast. Maybe it was with Owen. It was a relationship that did it to me. I'm pretty sure. I met a pretty like turbulent relationship about 8 or 9 years ago, and it just switched my thinking completely. I was so confused, like about the person's behavior. I didn't understand it whatsoever, because, and it was mainly based around like anxiety and like more anxiety than anything. I don't think it was a depression. It was more the anxiety thing. And what I learned after that was I didn't actually know what anxiety was until after that. And then I started to realize it in myself, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a big hole here. I've missed something here. And then that just sent me off on a trajectory. And then I think it was the divine timing, because then Instagram started to go get bigger and people posting quote cards and all these things. And there's this guy on YouTube, Prince Ia, I think his name is, and he was one of the very first guys, and like Eric Thomas, hip hop preacher.
I've seen
that
Eric.
guy. Yeah,
I've seen him live.
I've seen him live as well. Yeah, he's brilliant. And I remember early days of that, and those were the days where I was like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
You know, put all my biases aside and try and work on myself. So that, I think that was my pivotal moment, because all before that, I think I was just me. And I had an interesting chat with Owen about this the other day. We were talking about, we've just done this thing with Melissa Maskey in Victoria called Conscious Creativity, and it talks about the Enneagram. And the Enneagram in psychology is like a numbering system for personalities. It's like 1 to 9, and it talks about your baseline fears. And there's also like these other lines. So it's on like this, looks almost like a bit like a pentagram. It's like all the lines going everywhere. And there's 2 lines coming off your number. I'm a number 5, and in my strength I go to number 8, which is a boss.
Yeah.
And then in my weakness or in my unhealth I go to a number 7, which is the enthusiast. And the enthusiast is not, in my sense, is a weak enthusiast.
Yeah.
So I'm like blasé, and I'm doing like just stupid shit, and I'm doing like, you know, I'm just like, let's go do this, and just no thought going into everything. And people used to say to me when I was a kid, they were like, you're really laid back. And that was how I was. I would just do whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really care. I was like, whatever.
Well,
and then I think, wow, was I like living in that for many, many years? I think I might have been, you know, because I'm so different now.
Yeah.
I'm very calculated now, structured, like into all the details. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack in that. But I think, the pivotal moment for me where I actually woke up was after that relationship. I was like, something's fucking not right here. Like, I don't understand.
100%.
You know? And up until that point, I felt like I had understand most things I'd done in my life. And I was like, I'm confused here. Yeah.
It's funny, you know, we were chatting about it in the car, saying about a certain student yesterday who just did not, like, it didn't click. You know what I mean? At what was happening at that time. And it's funny, I've just said that I went to see Eric Thomas, right? And if you said, name one thing that happened in there, I couldn't tell you, right? Because I remember somebody dragged me along to that, paid for my ticket, like Pat, who I was 24 years old and I was leading a team of 300, and he was like, you need to come and see this guy. This guy will change your life. And I was like, yeah, sweet. But you know when you're just not into it, like what he was saying, I was like 100%. But the next day it was just like, well, no, don't worry about it.
That was a good show.
Yeah. Wow, that was really cool. And it's like, I still tell people now, because I remember he just went nuts after doing that. Like, he was all over YouTube, podcasts, everything. And I tell people like, oh yeah, I went to see him. And they're like, oh wow, what did he get from it? And I'm like, I can't remember. Just because my head wasn't in that space to go, this is a guy I need to really be like, you need to get so much from this guy and take that on for the rest of your life. And it feels really bad now, because Pat was obviously the one who, he was gone through business coaching, but he was one of my trainers at the time. And he was like, you need to do this. This will help you so much in the future, blah, 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 and stuff like that. Sorry, Pat, if you're listening. I promise I'm a better person now. So, as he knows, better man. As he knows. So, yeah, it's little stuff like that.
Yeah. It's the fact, like, and that's why we always speak about, like, the value. Like, you know, we should almost take price off the table. It's the value for the person who's actually making the investment.
Yeah.
Not necessarily how much it costs or anything like that, but in a coaching context or in a space of personal development or education like we're in, it's the skin in the game that really counts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you've made that investment and you want it for you, you're not going to fuck around and you're going to remember that stuff because it means something to you. That it's a light bulb before the light bulb, because you're like, okay, I need to make this investment in myself.
Yeah.
And you're putting that little bit of skin in the game. And that's maybe the case. And I said it to you over the past couple of weeks, months even, you know, like, and I think even when I got here earlier this week, I was like, I think the biggest issue in the RTO industry is the fact that the government are actually funding it.
Yeah.
Because if people were funding it themselves, there'd be none of this fucking around and dropping out and all of this. They'd be serious about it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the light bulb for me, just to
reel it back in there.
for a second.
I've always been this way.
We'll continue that conversation.
I like that.
We'll continue that conversation. But I think listening to both of you there, like, I don't think we can really pinpoint an exact time, because if you think about our bodies, we're regenerating every, I don't know the stats, but like our molecular structure changes like every however many years. All of our cells regenerate and change. So like we're going to probably have multiple light bulbs throughout our life. I had a light bulb in my cycling career, like I spoke about yesterday, but before that I had a light bulb when I was in school, when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't want to go to college. Light bulb, not doing it. And then, you know, cycling, as soon as I knew that I'd reached my potential in it, not doing it. You know, then cutting hair, getting to the end of, like, you know, fully booked columns, getting to the end of my career in the shop, not doing it. Get into education, mix it between the two, get to a certain point, not doing it. They're all like light bulbs. And what actually gave me my most recent light bulb was doing curve and raise, nail it and scale it. And that whole frame around, do you want to be a slave to your own life? Are you going to be the creator of your own misery? Like, because in the future, you're not going to, what you're doing now and the structure and the setup of everything, I realized the importance of getting this right from the start in order to live like an enriched life. And I was like, oh fuck, like I have to make this investment and it's for me, you know? And that's the thing. It's like, it's for me and I know it's for me. And if that's done from a morally and ethically correct place from the person who's delivering that to you, brilliant.
Do you think if you didn't go to the seminars, you'd still be in the shop?
Probably, yeah.
It's the only reason why I say that, it's funny, right? My dad left school at 15, worked in the steelworks till he retired, right? Like, got offered loads of promotions and stuff. Nah, I know what I do. I do it well. I don't want it. I get my 12 weeks holiday a year. So I see the same thing in my sister, Sarah, right? Who will listen to this. So sorry, Sarah, I'm not bad-mouthing you. I'm just being honest, right? But you could see how she got that from my dad, where she's like, she's quality at her job. But it's just like, I don't want another job now. Like, why would I go to a higher position and have to learn everything? I might not be good at it. Like, you know what I mean? And that's it's one thing which I kind of found myself with long hair, but then I kind of get that trait from mum where it's just like, I'll just be out of your comfort zone. Like, she does a job for 12 months, that's right, I'm done. Move to the next thing. I need a challenge, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's funny because my dad is so competitive and my mum is not competitive at all, but just career-wise, completely different. That's the only reason why I said, like, is that because you went to those sessions? Because, I don't know. I don't know when it did kind of click for me. I don't know whether it was just in my genes or... So, that's why I thought it was an interesting
the competitiveness thing, do you reckon that comes from, like, a sense of, like, because maybe he's stuck in that other mindset, then that's where he gets his pleasure from? You know?
It's hilarious, right? My dad, who I know won't listen to this podcast, but my dad was class at football. Like, in our hometown, everyone knew him. He was quality footballer. Probably should have played higher, but same thing. Well, I'm good at this level, so why would I? If I go up and then they go, oh, you're shit, you're out, kind of thing.
Comes back to the baseline fears thing.
Exactly,
you know?
I learned a really interesting thing like that, different context, but with like creative people. And there's this like scenario where they talk about like some creative people can go ahead with no directions. They can just like some painter just can look at a canvas and just start doing shit. You know, it's like people cut hair. Some people are just very freehand and they can just do whatever. Some people need all the directions because they couldn't do it the other way. And it's a similar thing in life. Some people need all the directions and they couldn't do it just free because it's too scary.
Exactly.
It's quite scary when going into the unknown. I'm driven the other way. I quite like the unknown. You know, I'm one of them guys, again, I don't know where if I'm falling into my weakness here, but I'm like, fuck it, let's just have a crack. You know, that's the enthusiast comes out in me. I
take that you know, it's funny when we did the Elements course on Sunday. And like, I got the mannequin head out and I put it on. I'm just looking at it and you were like, what's your thoughts? And I was like, I don't know. And you were like, oh, just chop it. Fuck it. And I was like... Oh yeah, okay.
But I'm not even conscious that I do that, but guess how deeply ingrained it is in me. That's the enthusiasm coming out.
Which is awesome.
I'm like, fuck it, let's just do it. You know?
And I was like, I'll cut a bob. And I was like, I've never cut before. I've never cut a bob before. Let's just do a bob. So it was pretty funny. But you need to surround yourself with people like that.
That's what I was about to say. That's where it's we need a level of understanding and importance. And the importance of having all those different people. You know, that's what I learned again through the Enneagram stuff. It's all those personalities make this big like soup of life. You know, imagine if we're all the same. it would
That's
be a very different place, right? And it was crazy to learn that.
Do you think? Here's another one. Whose podcast is this?
Here's one for you.
If you guys were still back home, right? You never made the jump over here. Do you think you would be the same type of people, or do you think that? Does that make sense? The same type of people?
Oh yeah.
This kind of same outlook on life and stuff like that. The only reason why I say that, I love home, but I know for well if I was still there, I would be miserable as hell. Don't get me wrong, I'm miserable here as well, but it's like waking up and it's just like the same thing every single day. You know what I mean? Groundhog Day, and it's like, but it's like Australia's the land of opportunity, right? So that's the only reason why I asked that. It's like, because it's very easy for me to say, oh yeah, look what we're doing, look at this, look at that, and then I get the feeling that a lot of people in the UK may go like, look at this prick, like look at him, like, you know what I mean? But maybe it's
I'll say that I definitely don't think I'd be who I am now. Don't think so. Look, who knows? I could have been. For a couple of reasons. I think in the last 2 years, I've created such a safe place to be who I need to be, which I never found before. Yeah. And that I know for sure that is not the place where I lived in the UK. That is not. And that's one of the reasons, again, like you said, just sniggering at the breath work. Like that's just dumb shit, like that stupid shit. That shit could save your life and you're going to laugh at me? Like, okay. Do you know what I mean? But it's not their fault. It's they feel unsafe of looking silly, and that safety factor, and that's been massive for me. And that's why I'm very careful who I surround myself with. Yeah. Because I have this weird thing where it can trigger me back into a hole. Yeah. Trigger me back, I'll go back into my cave again. Yeah. There's a reason I'm like quieter and reserved, because of that. It's a safety factor. My logical head knows that that's fucking stupid. If you say that to me, I'll go, oh, that's fucking dumb. Yeah. My heart doesn't know that. My heart thinks, fuck, we're scared here. It's the little kid in me is just fucking petrified. And yeah, just like no judgment, and that was the big one. I think I've learned that more so as well doing the Cohen Ray stuff. Yeah. I can't believe how like judgment free it is. It's ridiculous. You could, like Owen said the other day, you could probably shit your pants in there, and they would be like, well, that happened for a reason, didn't it? You know?
And let me clean it up for you.
And someone will let me help. And say you're okay and let me help, and well, I'm learning something.
But
here
actually
too.
mean
like,
it too, though. Like,
I mean it. Like last night, right? So I kind of went a bit back into my old ways there last night. We did a podcast. I forgot my laptop, and I was a little bit like stressed out about that, and James, the guy that we were doing it with, he's like, no, this is great. He's helping. He's solution again, he's solution based. And there's a point in my mind, again, there's other people I know like this in my life where I was like, this is too good to be true. And I was waiting for the moment where he was going to turn around and go, oh, fuck's sake, boys, just get your shit together. Yeah. And then he turned around and he was, no, I'm learning here too. And I'm like, where the fuck do these people come from? No. Like it was, so yeah, I'm going to say, no, I don't think I'd be who I am. No, I think there's underlying traits that I've identified that I've always had. Yeah. Curiosity has been a big thing in my life. I remember when mum and dad used to tell me to do this, and I'd be like, why? Yeah. Why? Not because I didn't want to do it. They would see it that way. Why? Yeah. But I'd be like, is there really logic in this? You know, I've always been quite a logical person. And I would always ask why. And they'd be like, you know, classic responses like, just do it. Just get on with it, you know. So I think there's like an underlying trait of me that's always been curious. But yeah, I don't know if I'd be like who I am now if I didn't move away and change my environment, and then slowly but surely create this kind of safer place for me to be this person.
Interesting.
What about you, Owen? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and you, my friend?
Nah, 100% not. Definitely not. Like my life completely went on a fucking rocket ship from coming to Australia. You know, the experiences, the things that I've dived into, the opportunities that were available, the ones that weren't just available, but the ones that I took as well. Like this was all a decision. Like I decided to do all of this stuff. Yeah. You know, it wasn't like it just happened by coming here. Like, you know, I still had to do it. Yeah. But it wouldn't have been there, and like. Again, no disrespect to anybody in my hometown, but there is a ceiling. There is only so much you can do before you have to outsource and go somewhere else. Like, absolutely. Because of the location, it's just a location thing. You know, how could I be charging what I'm charging for a haircut if you want to use that as one of the examples? Or where am I going to meet these people that are similar in ways of thinking to me? And if you're not surrounded by them, you're just surrounded by disempowering kind of messages or language or family. And, you know, unfortunately, like, and I said this to my mom recently, and I mean this with the absolute least amount of disrespect to my family, but like, it's not that encouraging, you know. Like, I was always the most confident person in my family, and it rarely threw me off. But like, just being around the ways of, they're just ways of being, was interesting. And my granddad, my mom's dad, before he passed, like, he was always very like powerful, like, in that regards. Like, he was always believing me a lot and like encouraged me to do that, probably because he could see it. You know, it got to the point where he was about to die, and he probably could see it, like, oh fuck, we've gone wrong here somewhere. You know, like, this isn't. But then, like, everyone's too afraid to really call it out at home, because you don't want to upset anyone, or you don't want to push anyone over the edge, or you don't want to do this, and then it just keeps everyone within this like bracket that everyone's heads are just hitting the ceiling as soon as they move anywhere. And everyone's been pulled back into the piss pool.
I was going to say that. I was like, whoa, don't go there. Whoa, come back, my friend. We're down here.
It's a crab bucket, like, you know,
100%.
Like, one of the crabs tries to get out, and the other ones just claw it back.
Where are you going? No.
Do you think you've always been like outwardly confident? Because you seem very like outwardly confident. See, for me, that there's the difference there was, I'm very like quietly confident inside. I know I've got the grit to fucking get most shit done. I could probably do most things, and that's been a theme in my life. Most things that I've put my mind to. Like, I was chatting to Arthur yesterday about the bodybuilding thing. He was like, "You fucking love competition, don't you?" And I was like, I don't know. I've just spoken to Owen about this. I don't know if I'm drawn. My mind's got this bias of being drawn to things that I think I could be good at, or whether I just try really hard to be good at that thing. I'm not sure. But that's always a quiet confidence in me, because when I was younger, being outwardly confident was like being cocky. You don't want to be, look at that. You don't want to be cocky. Do you know what I mean? And you'll get it. Like, we'd get it. It's like that British mentality. And like, so I would never express outward confidence. I would always be inwardly confident. So what do you think?
I believe there's a bit of a difference. I think the cockiness and the arrogance side of it, in that kind of context, is it comes from people who inwardly aren't confident.
Right, okay.
But like, I've always had a bit of both. And in the right scenarios, I know when to turn the taps down and when to turn them up, you know, like, it's just an emotional intelligence thing, maybe.
It's powerful.
I've always had it within me, and that's shown on the outside, but never to the point where it would be to the detriment of someone else or making someone else feel bad. It was always done with the best intent. But like, I think I think when it's all on the outside and it's too much and it's over the top and it's a bit like inauthentic, then it's a bit like something's not right on the inside. You know?
And if you look at I related a lot to what Kerwin said. For me, my outward confidence was more about like, maybe this links to why I am competitive. Like, it was those things. It was like winning a hockey. I used to play a lot of hockey. Maybe it was winning a hockey game, or it was being the captain, or like the bodybuilding stuff. You know, I got the muscles now. That was my way of showing an outward confidence. I would never be like, look at me, but that was my way of like, I can do this and do this and do this. So
I think
it's weird, isn't it?
Right now, for me, it's coming out differently now for me as well. Like, right now, at the moment, for me, it's not having to fill unnecessary space either, and just sitting and being okay with just being silent in certain moments, and just not like having to fill the space. Because I'm more inwardly confident right now than I've ever been, but still have a lot to kind of work through and work on, which is interesting. It's kind of like, there's things that come up for me. Sometimes I'm like, fuck, I still need to deal with that. That kind of affects it sometimes, but then I'm kind of anchored. I've got a good kind of anchor.
You don't show that though.
No, I speak about it sometimes. That's the fucking problem.
I know, that's what I mean. It's like,
and that's exactly it.
We have this conversation all the time, don't we? Everybody thinks you guys fucking kill it. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear on this? I was like, whoops. Just
you do it all the time anyway.
I know, my language is terrible. Sorry, mum.
Sorry, mama.
Even though my dad would probably say it as well. But yeah, it's like we speak about it all the time, don't we? I forgot where I was going with that rabbit hole then. It was about the showing, wasn't it? Just like showing, we speak about it all the time. Everyone who sees you guys would go, fuck yeah, they probably do like 3 cuts a week. They fucking live down the beach. They're like sipping cocktails somewhere. They're probably like in Bali 9 months of the year and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you have no fucking idea. And this is the only reason why I say that is because people say it about me. They go like, oh, it must be fucking nice owning a college. You'd live in the dream. And I'm like, fuck, if that's a dream, like, it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, I love it, but holy fuck, it's like, it's not what it's like on Instagram, like we say all the time, right? Isn't it? It's like, yeah, our Instagram page, if you look on it, literally, like, it looks like we are all killing it.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, there's a lot of confusion in the world at the moment between what's real and what's not, because there's so many lies going around.
Yeah.
Like, we're all fucking lying to each other on a daily basis. As soon as you open your phone and you go on Instagram, lies everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just no truth, no authenticity, just lies. Like,
lies. For what? Like a little bit of extra validation.
Yeah, no.
a little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra validation, a bit
One
of
more follow, right?
Yeah.
And like the thing I said in the class, you know, in nature, like anything in isolation rarely makes sense. You know, one video on Instagram does not give you business context at all. It's a highlights reel.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that was one moment in a day, and the rest of the day we were actually really quiet. So.
Yeah. It was. I found it funny when you said to the students yesterday, when you were like, just to let you know, like, I don't lie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling it as it is from now on. Yeah. Like, I'm not lying anymore. Like, that's one thing which, and I was like, I do have that terrible thing, but I lie when I'm nervous. Like, I'll do that. Like, shit, I better say something. To do it. It's funny listening to you two about confidence. I got fuck all confidence, and I don't know whether it's from when I was a youngster or what. Like, just it brings me back to sport, I think. Whereas my dad was always like I'd save a penalty or something, and he'd go, "Oh yeah, but you let in a goal like earlier on." You know what I mean? Because he just wanted, the old school mentality was break you down, and you'll just keep on getting better.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, fuck that.
And what have we learned over the last 3 days? Like, celebrating them wins.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if them wins were more celebrated, like, it might be a different story, right?
I'd be playing in the Prem.
Yeah, but the flip side to that is, again, imagine if you did, then someone else would be like, oh, don't be so cocky.
Yeah,
Do you know? And it was that never-ending loop, you know?
100%.
Even like when I played, I played hockey to a really high level. Like, I was training with the England team at one point, but I never pushed it far enough, probably because I had that same mentality in my head. I was like, well, I won't be that guy. I won't be too flash, you know. I'd always absolutely battle every game, but that was just I'd be quietly confident about that, you know.
But that's a lot of it is in the coding and in the story from our parents, like, that life is hard and it has to be hard, and you know, I think that's just what we've kind of gone through and experienced, but
It's very interesting. Like, again, going back to sport, like, geez, this is bringing back memories. But when I first came here, the second week I was in Australia, I got trials for Gold Coast United, the soccer team, to literally play in goals. And I did a training session with them. Didn't know it was a trial, and they were like, yeah, 100%. Like, we'll sign, but we're doing this pre-season kind of competition up north. We'd like you to come to it. And I was so like had no confidence whatsoever. I just messaged the guy going like, oh, I've sprained my ankle, like, I won't be able to play. And there was nothing wrong with me. It was just that thing of, and especially as a keeper, I was kind of like, I don't want to let anyone down, so I just won't jump to that next step, which is crazy. Now looking back at it, I'm like, geez, it could have been a professional.
And you see
footballer.
how that's so powerful, because where would you have got that from? And even when you were younger, way younger, and that's where the heart will override the mind so much. Like, the same with me. Like, my logical head goes, just be outwardly confident. My heart just won't let it happen. You know, it's the same thing, and that's why it's getting that developmental psychology is so important. Like, if we tell kids, it's just hard, and no, you can't be like this, it's gonna be a fucking nightmare for them. And we've realised, we are the realisation generation. Like, we know now that, okay, that ain't working out, is it? And again, you heard me say it a few times over the last few days. If this carries on in 10 years, what does it look like? Not good. How does that make us feel? Not very good. So we've got to change it, right? Like, we have to take responsibility.
Absolutely.
And there's a whole other rabbit hole of responsibility. Like, and nobody wants to take responsibility. Again, like, getting back to their mentality. No, I'm good in this. I'm safe. Don't really want to take responsibility of the next thing, so I'll just stay here. Yeah. You know?
And there's a lot within that too. There's a lot of, like, I feel from me at the moment, there's a lot of healing that has to happen. Because like, these values that we speak about, the reason we have the values is because we're trying to heal them in ourselves. The reason we're trying not to lie is because I'm sick of lying.
Yeah.
I've lied enough in my life now at this point.
Yeah.
I'm lying to myself every fucking day still.
Yeah.
And I need to work through that and heal that.
Yeah.
And that's why it becomes one of our values, because we're in that growth phase. We're changing, we're healing. And we're healing so that we don't hurt people. Like, hurt people.
Yeah.
That's one thing that keeps coming up for me. I keep
and
hearing
like
it.
the values almost heal you, don't they? I know we are healing, but the values heal you. You know, you set out 10 values, right? I'm living by them.
Yeah.
And openly and non-judgmentally, and it fucking heals you. It's so good. Like, I feel like even presenting to you guys, I've done some healing over the last couple of days.
Been
like,
fucking amazing.
you know what I mean? Like that, and that's
been,
why we
it's
say
been great.
we'll get as much out of this as you guys will, and we say that to the kids. And I know it's probably hard for them to understand because they're at the start of their careers and stuff. But it's true. Like, every word we say, it's healing us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you want to put that into context, like, as to like why we're even here with you and why we're doing what we're doing? Because a lot of people are listening to it and probably thinking, what's going on? Yeah, no, but like, what's going on with the Barber Academy and the network? Because, you know, you see a lot of our cross promotion and us like doing some stuff for each other, and what's that all about?
Cross branding.
Cross branding.
And we're just using your names. No, I'm joking.
Leverage.
So yeah, exactly. Like, boost up the followers. No, basically we, as a college, have always tried to give the students as much as possible. Again, terrible business concept, but we want to make sure that they get literally everything that they can in that short amount of time that they get on our course. And obviously, after seeing what you guys had developed on the network, not only was that something which I was interested in, but I know I mentioned it yesterday, that was something which, when I was learning and I had something like that, I would not, like, I'd be a lot better than what I am now. But I'd also feel a lot more confident in what I'm doing. So that was one thing which I really wanted to impact on the students, I think, with the network. The main thing which I keep on telling them, I'm like, the hair is just an added bonus. Like, on that platform, the hair is the added bonus. Like, the branding aspect of it, just how to look after your tools, like, just simple stuff like that. I'm like, you will get so much more out of that than just watching a haircut. You know what I mean? And it's like, that may seem difficult for them to understand, but I think they really got it yesterday. I think they were really like, this makes sense. Like, and again, I'll go back to when we were doing the debrief. Not one of them mentioned anything about your haircuts. Like, it was not about the haircuts. And that for me was like, it gave me a little tingle, as in to go, shit, okay, this is just hit. Like, as a company, that's just hit, because the day before, obviously, we'd done Train the Trainer. And as you know, I broke down. But it was like, that to me was like, oh shit, okay, everyone's buying into this. Which is really, like, powerful. Like, that's something which Mum and myself have been trying to do for 7 years. And I think that's why I did get so emotional, because it's like, we've had trainers in the past who, don't get me wrong, could not give a shit. If my pay goes in, happy days. And that's not me bad-mouthing people. That's just being honest about the industry. But now I believe we have a team who have really, like, they're gelling into what we want to do as a company. And don't get me wrong, if they don't want to, then somebody else will join. Like, I'm not pushing it on anyone, but they need to realize that the future of our company is with the network, with you guys. Like, that's where we want to go. That is exactly what we do. So to go off into that little rabbit hole again, the reason why we did it, we were using another education partner for videos from the UK, and we just didn't feel like the students were reacting to it. They were too long. It was all old styles. It was the classic, just like, it was just very boring. Like, and hair isn't boring, as you both know. Like, it's such an amazing industry, and we just wanted to give them a little bit of that taste test into the industry with what you guys are doing, because it is hard to show on Instagram what you guys do, if that makes sense, like, to get that across. And that's what I'm trying to say to them. It's like, you can look on the network and you can see, it kind of is your stories. Like, you can see the background through hair, color, like, and then we're going into the barbering, but then that is just like the cream on top. I kind of do that, everything underneath it with the brand work. It's like working on yourself, like, even just like the couple of stuff where you've got like the like the personal aspect of it, like looking after your own body and stuff like that. Like, who the fuck puts that on education? Like, but that's why we need to change it, because it's like, every single barber that I looked up to over the last 5 years is quitting the industry because they're like, oh, my body's a mess. I can't do it anymore.
And that's exactly why I felt so passionate about putting that on there. You know, again, I've been into fitness a lot, played a lot of sport in my life, and you know, now having such a long career, I was out doing a lot of other people. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, my body's fucked," or people even younger than me. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm thriving. Like, and this was time was I was pumping it in the salon, and I was like, it's got to be down to how I look after my body. And I was, as you were saying that, then I was thinking, wow, why would a lot of these people get out of the hair industry and go to education? Probably because they are fucked. You know,
it is.
Whereas we are trying to get close to education just to help people because we found the fucking solution. You know,
exactly.
So I totally get it, and that's why they would never put it in there, because they were like, oh, well, that just fucks you up. So you know,
and getting back to the whole confusion piece of like people going online and not seeing things for what they are. I think when we showed up in the last few days and actually showed them in person that were like that, it really made a big impact
100%.
on everyone, on the trainers, on the students, on us. Like we left that, like when we were doing the shares at the end of the day yesterday, this is day 3 12-hour education days pretty much, you know. I was sitting on the stool when we were doing the shares, and I was listening to the students' stories, and I was listening to the feedback they were giving us, and I was like, I was getting more energy. It was like I was after having another coffee.
It does do that.
It was like, wow, like this is incredible. Like we're actually making the impact we know that we can make. And the thing that we've been thinking about for this long is like, it's fucking
exactly.
It's happening. And you could
in
feel
front of us.
the energy in the room was potent at times. It was like you could feel the emotion. There was a little bit of tension in the room almost, but positive tension, you know.
And I noticed it a little bit of the trainer one with you guys, and a lot yesterday. You get to a point, we kind of like nurture everyone to a point where you just start popping off like fireworks in it, and it's infectious and magnetic, and it was powerful at points.
That's why you need to hold the silence too.
And I was just about to say that as well, and you stole my moment. How dare you?
How
I was literally about to say,
you.
I was like, that was because I remember the main part was everyone paused, and then somebody was like, well, shit, I better say something. Like, you know, that fill in the gap, but it was like everyone was just quiet, and then it was like 2 minutes, and then everyone came in. They were like, oh yeah, I got this out, I got that out, I got this and this and this, and then it started all over again. We went on for another 45 minutes. So it's crazy, and it is absolutely
imagine
crazy.
In that moment if we just said, all right, like we've filled the gap, you know, what would have happened, you know?
But that's what happens in education. And again, I'm not trying to badmouth education, but that's just what we get stuck into. It's like don't give them anything else. Don't give them extras. What are you giving them extras for? Did they pay for that? Like,
but that's why we don't do education.
And exactly,
we don't do education. We do
transformations.
We don't do like that, and that's the whole reframe at the beginning of that lecture that we do. It's not that's not the way we look at it, even though literally that's what it is. That's not what our aim is. We don't do education. We're not in that sphere, if that's what you want to call it. That's not what it is. We're trying to give people the light bulbs, the aha moments, letting them figure shit out for themselves, like as well as anything else.
Even some of the funny stuff you were telling me yesterday about like not shaking hands and stuff, like they're telling you that in education, like it couldn't be less human.
I know.
And that's what we're trying to like bring it back to the humans here.
What's
like,
that? Is that an authority thing? Is that like kind of like remain a level of authority, or like what is it?
I don't know if it is authority. I think it's
comfortability.
But that is
HR.
I think it is HR. I think it is. At the end of the day, I think it's like just
you can't touch anybody in case you get sued.
Which is crazy. But that the authority thing is big in education as well. People want to get into education because they want to go, you'll never be as good as me. Like, that's the thing. It's like, and I mean, obviously coming from the fitness industry, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by trainers who don't do that, but there's a lot of fitness trainers who are like, just so you know, you will never ever have the knowledge which I have. And I'm like, what? What do you even mean?
You read one book.
Nuts. I know. It's like, but yeah, it's changing. Things are changing, so which is good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know. It's nice though when you take a little bit of a backseat in your own life, and you can kind of look at it from a different perspective. Like, I'm looking at it now from like an aerial point of view. I spoke about this in the last couple of days, and I'm observing so much. Like, I was already curious. I was already that person, but like sometimes you get so tied up in your own head and in the rigid way of doing things the way they've always been done because it works. And now I'm stepping back and I'm like, but does this really bring me intrinsic joy? And like the last couple of days doing the stuff, the trainer stuff, doing the stuff with the students yesterday, like that's my space. Like that's where I play. That's where I'm at my best.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I realized that over the last few days, I'm like, this is just fucking great. And it's having the ability to kind of like switch from that real masculine way of doing and just literally just being, you know, like Lee and I were saying, imagine when like this, the compounding effect of this over the next 5 to 10 years, and then we have kids, and then we're able to actually like hold a space for the kids the same way we held a space for everyone over the last few days, like, and how it's going to continue to get better. If that's the first time we've done it, fucking hell. Like,
I know, it's pretty I don't know if scary is the right word around that, but I was like, all I kept on picturing was, because it's pretty new what we're doing if you think about it. Like, we only started this with our newer intakes, so there's only 2 intakes. There's 15 students there. And I'm like, I know full well all of the older students would have been going, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. But they do have that. They can just go online, purchase that. But you want to have the face-to-face, obviously. But then that's for the future, which it's like where you guys, who knows, you may not do face-to-face in the future. But that's also like that element there as well. See the little in there,
I think that was nice.
I know, I've done that a lot recently.
You dropped it in there.
Yeah, some nice concepts around that.
Yeah, thanks, man.
But yeah, like we're reevaluating the whole thing, but I think what really stood true to me over the last few days is the importance of us being in that face-to-face environment as well.
I agree.
And as much as we want to, you know, live our own lives and be on our healing journey and spend time with ourselves, I think we equally heal through spending that time with others as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
And like we mentioned, you know, we're paying it forward too. You know, that's
absolutely.
You know, like that concept that we were talking about of paying it forward. This is us paying it forward with all the healings that we're actually getting as well.
That was awesome.
It just keeps compounding. Yeah,
that was an awesome moment when Kieran
shared that. So
Kieran, one of the educators at the Barber Academy, was talking about this concept of paying it forward, and how him being in education and why he does it is showing respect to all of the people that have taught him, because that's why they're doing it as well. And like that really hit me, because I was like, yeah, it's actually disrespectful. And we were saying to people over the last couple of days, like, literally take everything from our platform, and if you want to do it, just copy and paste it. We don't care. Copy it if you want. Take it all. And it's actually a disrespect to us if you don't, because then you haven't learned it. And it's like, that's the worry that stops people even doing and living out their dreams, is not having that fear of like, oh, I don't want to be seen to have copied that person. But then, like, how are you ever going to know? You don't copy them anyway. How can you copy somebody when you're your own version of yourself?
That's exactly right. It's impossible, isn't it? You can't copy someone.
No, you can take their concepts. Like, it makes me so happy to think that if I was to teach somebody, like, I know there's a guy that works with Brother Wolf. He applied for Next Gen. His name's Nathan, and in his application, he won't mind me sharing this, I know him, but in his application, I taught him stuff in the beginning that he still uses today, and he tells me that regularly, and he now passes that on to other people. So it's this spiderweb effect, and that's the whole point of the network. If you look at the network's logo and you look at all the dots, that's what it represents. It's that effect that it's spreading out to the wider community. And everyone who would have been in the classes the last couple of days, they have to have gone home with a better energy. Like,
well, it's what you two literally summed up, isn't it? It's like, you won't take everything from this, but there'll be a couple of things which you take. And I'm like, well, I know for well they have taken it, because they all shared it at the end of the day of what they have actually took from the day, basically. So it's like,
it's the importance of the group as well. You know, like,
absolutely.
and that's what we're trying to do. It's like, I think we've become very isolated in the world, like, as humans. And I think the importance of that group and that safe space for everyone to share, because somebody sharing something in the group brings up a thought that somebody else might have had but might have been too afraid to say it, or they just haven't processed it enough yet to actually feel it. Like, it hasn't integrated enough, but then they say it and they're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like, I was actually thinking that too. You know,
that is very, like, But then it's also down to you guys who've got that out of them, if that makes sense. Because I've taught a lot of classes, like, and I've had groups before where it's like I can't get a peep out of them, like, and nothing. I can't do anything to just literally like just get that one little bit of feedback. But you've obviously got something across to them which has clicked in their minds, and they've gone, yeah,
It's
boom, there you go. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, some of those students I've never even heard speak before.
Yeah.
Like, they normally go, oh, hey, like that, hey.
Yeah.
And they're standing in front of a group being like, oh, what I learned from today, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow, that's so, like, that to me is why we have the academy. And it's like what one of the students said yesterday, it doesn't feel like a school when I'm here. And I'm like, oh, that to me is like, I could literally cry my eyes out when I hear that, because you guys know my mum. Yeah. Like, that's exactly what we want. That it's not a school. This is a place, it's like a safe zone. It's like you can hear his expressions, right? So, yeah, it's good times.
And that's what it's all just the human stuff, isn't it? Just we got to be more human.
Yeah.
And I think once we make them feel human and make them feel safe, then they can, people just say whatever they need to say.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've done over the last few days. And it's been amazing for me to be there, and all of us to be there. And have that energy together. But the power, especially in the shares, like when people are sharing stuff, when you're sharing as a group, it's compound. That energy just like multiplies. Especially with your share, with Kieran sharing to you, like that whole, everybody's heart was open there, wasn't it? Like it was, you could feel it.
I know, that's why I got so upset, I think, because I was like, thing
when all the eyes are on you, and like it's just this energy just coming at you. You got no hope, like you're gonna cry.
Exactly, I was
and
like,
it's powerful. But imagine if he just pulled you aside and said, "Oh, thanks, man."
Yeah, exactly.
You would have been like, "Yeah, oh, great, thanks." Like and maybe not. I don't know. But then when it's the group,
that's worse.
But
that's
when
worth
it's
so
the
much
group
more,
power, like
100%. Because it, like what you said though, it gets everybody else. Like as soon as Kieran said it, I heard Elise in the background going, "Oh, 100%, I couldn't agree anymore. Like, thank you so much. We're so grateful." Blah 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 and stuff like this. So, yeah, it's it's full on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that potent energy that's in the air from the group shares, like, and it's the public acknowledgements. It's way more than a pay rise. You could give somebody an extra $100 a week, but it wouldn't mean as much as just a public acknowledgement for the people who deserve the acknowledgement.
Yeah,
when it's the right moment. And we spoke about this over the course of the last few days as well, talking about like no 8th place trophies and stuff like that.
Exactly,
because that can actually have the opposite effect too. It's when it's required,
Absolutely.
And like, I had somebody do it for me in the K2 space over the in the crew for Nail It and Scale It, and she called me up and did a public acknowledgement for me. Yeah. And that's where I got that from, because I felt the power of it. But like, awesome. I'm so early in that space, I didn't really feel like I deserve, like, there's a part of me that's like, I've not kind of proved myself yet.
Yep.
But then to get it and to have everyone's eyes on you, and for her to say the words she was saying, and it just breaks you down, doesn't it?
Well, that was the same as me.
It puts your heart into your mouth, like.
Exactly. Oh, it was like, do you know that's again the kind of the good thing about that moment of silence, you know what I mean? Because I remember you looking at me, and you were looking at me as if to go, "It's all right, you can cry," like, you know what I mean? And it is that, like, because I remember looking at you and I was like, "Oh fuck, I think I'm going, yeah," and you looked as if to go, "I ain't saying a peep. You're gonna like cop this, and you're just gonna fucking cry your eyes out."
Because I didn't want to fill that gap or
yeah.
try to like bottle it up, like we spoke about in that other podcast previously. It's like that champagne analogy I used of like, typically we're just told no, don't cry, because that's us projecting our fear of seeing emotion onto somebody else. In that moment, I was looking at you and I was saying, do it. This is the strength, like showing the vulnerability is a strength. It shows your team how much you care.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing as well, which, like, I know I tell them all the time how much I love our team and stuff like that, but I think that might have been a light bulb moment for them, as like, to show how much I do actually care, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is my family. Like, I tell everyone this. I couldn't give a shit about myself. It's like, if my mum has a better life, like, my whole family has a better life. These people who are in my team have a better life. That's all I care about. And I know that's a really bad way of doing it, but I'm just saying it as the truth. Like, I couldn't give a toss about myself. Like, if my body broke down, whatever, it's like, I don't care. As long as everybody else is like in a good space, living the dream, that's sweet.
There's nothing bad. There's nothing good.
Yeah.
It's just how we look at it, you know?
Yeah.
It's perspective again. You know, like, it's a really great way of looking at it, because naturally by doing that, you're filling up your own cup.
Yeah, it is.
But just make sure to keep that cup full, because we've witnessed you in the last few days and how much effort you put in and work you put in. Doing the night classes after we've done full days of education and stuff like that. And I was saying to Leah, I was like, fuck, Gareth's like, you know, something has to change there. You know, something has to change there as well. For you, like, for your own development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one. It's like, I do enjoy doing it though. There's not a part of me which goes, fucking hell, I'm working these fucking hours, you know what I mean? And I always say that to you. I go like, yeah, I do it, but it's not like, there's no part of me which goes, somebody else should be fucking doing this. You know what I mean? There's no bad feelings or anything towards that, because I do enjoy that. I don't, like, I know it sounds really bad. I don't like do that. Oh, you should have seen how many hours I did this week. You know, people can do that. How they share it on their Instagram. They're like, another 90-hour week, and I'm like, fucking hell, I love a 90-hour week. It's like,
do that for breakfast.
I know, exactly. But it's like, I don't want to be that type of person, and that's not what I want my team to think or anything like that. I don't want them to think like, oh, is he doing that because he doesn't want to give us the hours? I'm only doing that because I know it's shit doing those types of hours, and I'd rather cop that rather than my team. So, like, that is one of the things. I know we said it as like when we did like, what's our kind of things that we're good at, you know what I mean? And that was the one thing. I think I am really good at the team thing, but then that also lets me down because I put so much energy into, like, I'll take everything off everyone that then I can't give them more. Does that make sense? So
I'm totally with you on that. I'm the same. And you know, it comes back to what I was saying yesterday. We do more for a group than we do for ourselves.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
thing. You know, it's like that commitment thing about doing more for others than we do for ourselves.
Absolutely.
But if we're not the best version of ourselves, we can't do more for others anyway. So we kind of have to be selfish in a way. I spoke to Damien about this, the guy I'm mentoring, and he was on about things being selfish or not being selfish, and I was like, there's a part of you that has to be selfish in order to be selfless.
Yeah.
If the goal is being selfless, you have to be selfish first so that you can show up as your best self. Like, you know, people might think in my close team, me stepping out of the shop is like almost like, oh, how could you do that to us, or a selfish thing. But then it's like, I'm actually looking at it now from an aerial view, and I'm here to fucking change it or make it better.
Well, that's what I learned from one of the Nissies that we went to. Someone said that to me, and two separate people said it to me in two separate conversations, and they didn't tell each other that they'd both spoken to me. But they were like, you got a problem with putting yourself first, don't you? And I was like, yeah.
I know,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh? And then it really compounded when the second one said it, and they were like, look, you really need to prioritize, like, rest and recovery time. Like, this is the next thing for the next quarter, is you prioritizing rest and recovery time. And I didn't sit well with me, because I was like, well, that's fucking selfish, isn't it? Like, that's audacious saying,
Absolutely.
well, I'm just going to sit on my ass when there's people need helping out there.
Yeah.
And I was going through a whole load of, like, transformational things right there, and one of the ones was just giving up the judgment, like, not judging myself. If I want to take a day off, take a day off. Like, or if I need half a day off to rest, then just rest, you know. Before, I would judge myself for that.
Yeah,
and be like, no, you got to keep going, you can't do that. And what that's allowed me to do is it's just accelerating the healing now.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know? And everything just fucking accelerating, which is
we've
great.
got good at that. We've got good at that.
Yeah.
Like, one of my quarterly tops, one of my quarterly tactical operating priorities is working towards our annual goal, personally and from a business, is taking 2 hours a day for myself, rest and recovery time.
Yeah, I did
and
like
personal
that.
development. And it's detrimental to everything that's happening. And at the time, I remember, like, even at the start when we did it, it was, even for me, I was like, fucking hell, that's a bit like audacious, isn't it? It's a bit like, how am I going to do that? But it's like,
remember when you said it to me, didn't you? You were like, I really think you should put this in as one of your hot action things for this quarter. And I was like, good luck. Like, I was like, when am I going to get the time? But
exactly.
You have to make it, because I was in that mindset as well. And like they told me at Nissi, it was like, look, you got to get helping others, you got to, it is essentially selfish, because you've got to take care of yourself first, and once you can do that, you get an even bigger kick out of it. So kind of is this like reciprocating loop, and they were like, and that's fine, the world needs more people like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, yeah, you're right. When they framed it up that way, I was like, okay.
It's selfish not to give your best self to them.
Exactly,
like,
and there you go. You could keep going around and around and around on that thing, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just reframing a lot of the societal norms that have been given to us. Like, you know, where does this come from? Like, we didn't pick that up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know, where did it come? It's a story. All of it's just stories. And that's one thing that's great about the Carbon Race Space, is that I'm doing some amount of promo for
I was going to say, mate, I was actually going to say this to you boys. I'm like, do you get commission on this or anything?
No, nothing.
Just like Huel, isn't it?
Yeah. But the thing is,
we have the network, by the way. It's a great online education platform for hair professionals looking to take their lives to the next direction.
But they'll call you out on it, right? Like, they'll say that's a story, and then like if they hear it, they say it. You know, that's just a story.
It's a good way to be in it.
Yeah.
And then they ask you, is that true? Do you believe it? So I started with one of the students yesterday. I was talking about the confidence thing, and so we were getting down to the point where it was like tracing it back to, this is just a story passed down. Is that true? Do you believe it? Not really. Okay, do you want to let it go? You know, and it's healing right there in that moment.
All of that reminds me of. Do you guys know Carl Pilkington?
Yeah.
You know when he's like, what superhero would you be? And he goes, bullshit, man. And he'd go, that's bullshit. He goes, I'd fly around the world, and when people are telling stories, he'd go, bullshit. Like that. I'm like, brilliant. I was like, that is so good, because it's like, I hear stories sometimes, and I'm just like, I'm like, I know for well that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and so do you. You're literally the person telling me. I'm like, you know that's bullshit, but
Well, that's it. Like, you know, like Owen said earlier, it's just we just lie. Like, the world just lies. And Simon Sinek says it. He says, all right, I'll get a task for you for the next 48 hours. No lies. Like, no white lies, no nothing. He was like, you cannot lie.
I think like
it's a challenge. That's literally a challenge for almost everybody.
I think even telling yourself you don't lie is a lie. You know, like because you're lying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if it's on an internal level, even though we might be out on an outward scale not lying to people, there's part of us that lies to ourselves internally all the time. Because we say we value things like health, and then we don't look after our health.
Nah, go and eat a cheeseburger in front of you.
You know, like it's just like that's the thing. You know, like we're constantly lying, but it's accepting that as well is important, and trying not to lie to the detriment of yourself and others. If you're not doing it, like it's a big conditioning pattern that we need to massage out. You know, take a big fucking rolling pin and just roll it out. Yeah. You know. Yeah. But we're changing the game of the face of the RTO industry here, Gareth. You know, like it's a complete different point of view.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Fuck it, let's do it.
But that's the thing. It's funny because obviously Johnny's been on your previous podcast, and it's like, fuck, it's so good to hear people like that. Like, you know what I mean, in the industry, because I do like. It's funny, everybody always says, why are you doing that? Like, why are you doing that? Because then another college will copy me. And I'm like, and it just summed it up perfectly this weekend. It's like, no, they won't, because they're not us. Like, they can copy it. Oh, look, the fucking logo looks exactly the same as ours. Or they've got the same chairs and everything like that. Yeah, but they're not us. It's like, it's...
wasted energy
and even if they do,
who gives a fuck?
And even if they do, great. Isn't that what we want? We want
want
the industry to move forward.
Exactly,
like, we need to stop staying in this like stuck mentality.
I know, fucking battling each other.
And collaboration is the new competition, and that's why this whole relationship formed. You know, like for us to actually move it forward. What I was saying to the students, the one thing that was keeping me in the industry was a lack. Like, one thing that would have actually forced me out of the industry was a lack of inspiration. And if that has to be us, it's not me giving myself more work, but if that has to be us, then it just,
you gotta fucking do it.
Gotta do it.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, there's something that, again, we were talking about, like, nothing's getting better. You know, I think it's that first principles thinking, isn't it? Is it getting better? And the answers we have today still the answers of problems tomorrow. And oftentimes you can say no. So, like, we have to keep evolving. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. If that space stays the same, is it getting better? In my opinion, no. So why not? Fuck it. Have a crack. Do it different, exactly. You know. And then again, like I said, if this stays the same, in 10 years, what does it look like? Does it look good? No. Okay.
Yeah.
Why are we fucking lying to ourselves then? Let's change it. You know.
I mean, it's funny what I was telling you both in the car. It's like we've been at fucking rock bottom as a company.
Yeah.
So now anything now is just like an added bonus. As far as I'm concerned, it's just like
it's all upside now.
Yeah. It's like, oh fuck, that didn't work. Oh well, at least it's not as bad as what it was.
Yeah.
Like so. Yeah, and I know mum's got the mentality. You know what mum's like. It's like, fuck it, everything is a positive, which I wish I could live my life like that, but sadly I can't. I'm trying. I'm really trying my best, but she is just a fucking different level. It's just like, it does not matter. Like the shit she's been through the past 2 years, and it's like not one of our staff members would know. Like not one. She comes in every single day. Hey guys, how are you? Like how she greeted you guys, and it's just like that. To me, is so fucking powerful. Because it's like, I don't know if that's classified as lying. I don't know. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's just so fucking positive, and then it's like, I just see why she's done so well in her life. Not just career, but life itself. Like look where she is. Like the fact we're in Australia. It's fucking nuts.
And I think some of that is probably conditioning passed down to her as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't directly pass down to you. You know, that's the thing. That was her conditioning, like Bubble, and your conditioning, Bubble, would have been different. And yeah, it's interesting.
But all of them challenges and things that have happened, like, they give her a whole lot of perspective over what matters and what doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You know, because we know only a small percentage of it.
Yeah.
But like, even what we know is like, fuck, if that happened to me or someone that I know, like, it gives you a whole lot of perspective.
Absolutely.
It takes them fucking emails that make you stressed completely off the table.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this in terms of like, you know, not having your buttons on the table for them to be able to be pressed. Like, take the buttons off the table.
Off the table. Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
don't press the Gmail button.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
like, if
fucking
you don't need
leave it
to.
Closed.
And like, that's what I said. Like, I was having such a good time up here, so present with everybody, and I messaged my partner Hannah, and I just said, look, I'm not going to call you tonight because I'm just really enjoying my presence right now.
Yeah.
And I want to stay in this bubble. And as soon as you go into your phone or into emails, it just brings up all of this stress in me.
What was Hannah's reaction to that?
She was like, great.
Yeah,
love that
see,
for
I
you.
fucking love that. That's the thing though, mate. Like, that's so good that you have people around you like that. And it just goes to show, like, I know I've told you this before. You guys were doing a podcast before. I think it was actually with Hannah. And I was like, fucking, what a cool fucking team. Like, the three of you, you know what I mean? And it's like, just like everyone bounces off each other. It's like, you're not all identical. It's like, same as just you two in general. It's like, it's so fucking cool. Like, and I can see where people will get that jealousy factor from, you know what I mean? I've told you both this before. People will say what you're doing is wrong because they're jealous, like for a start, and they'll be jealous of like, fuck, look how good of a relationship they have with each other.
But you know what? It's not all sunshine and
no,
rainbows either.
and that's exactly right.
And like, we, you know, like, I think the toughest times that we have are the biggest lessons have come from it, and the challenges that we're going through, and really like uncovering those hard truths and speaking to each other about it. And you know, we're going through some seasons in our relationship, so like what people see and what they hear me say, sometimes it's not always that way on a daily basis, but it's for the overall growth of us as a couple, you know. And like,
exactly,
we're kind of moving into this stage of like having a mature relationship, you know, which is awesome.
I think one of the big ones as well is like removing the judgment around that, and understanding and realizing that like a lot of them limitations don't often come from you.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I say it to a lot of people. I'm like, you're not often walking around trying to make someone have a shit day. It's comes, you know, it's things been passed down to you. And like Owen just said, he was to be like, all right, I'm not going to call you tonight. Someone else who wouldn't understand that, projecting their shit on you, would go, oh, fucking what?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, you know.
But it's about having the open and honest communication, in that, and knowing that like I need some space sometimes in order to heal and grow. I think that really helps. But
I know it's so funny, isn't it? I knew full well what Hannah would have said, but I just wanted to ask you
it's good to share that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think we'll have to do a second episode, won't we?
I think so
Paul
too.
looks a little bit impatient outside here.
I know, he's been standing outside for the last hour.
Yeah, so Do you want to end the podcast, Lee, on the last question, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, so we have one parting question.
This is the one I've been thinking about the whole time.
How have you been thinking about it? Oh, I might change it now.
I know. I should change
You even
it.
have an audience now.
Yeah.
I know, fucking hell.
The question is, are you happy?
Yeah, this is the one I like instantly. My first reaction is no, right? Which, like, that's bad. But I'm just being honest. I'm not happy. Like, it's not like I don't want people to go, oh fuck, like what's up. But I'm just like, I don't know. It's just I'm not happy at the moment. Certain stuff, certainly this last couple of days has been fucking nuts. Like, it's seriously, that has really got me. Hence why I fucking broke down, because I was like, okay, this is making sense what I'm doing now. But it is like, it's like a lot of stuff happens and I'm like, I'm not fucking happy. Like, I was on my happy pills, as I like to call them, because I don't want to say that word. But it's like, I went off that because I was like, no, I need to fucking deal with this. And it's like, at the moment, am I happy? There's some points I am happy, but there's a lot more points where I'm unhappy. Is that saying I'm like miserable? No, not miserable, but it's like I don't feel that. Like, I wake up every morning going, fuck, I'm so glad I'm here. Like, and that can sound dark. I don't mean that to sound dark, but it's like I'm just saying it as it is for that question. It's like I did it in the Wednesday wins, which everyone should be doing. A couple of weeks ago, I was like, I woke up today, and it's like, I know some people may have just thought, oh, he was having a lie in, but I was like, no, genuine, like, I got out of my fucking bed today. Like, that's literally, like, I know that may seem like hard, but I was like, that's what it was. It's like, I have those days where I'm just like, oh, fuck this, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'll send Owen a voice message and be like, I'm gonna Bali, fuck this. Like, this is just like, not so much the business or anything like that, it's just all too hard. It's like, I'm not happy. Like, this is just like, what the fuck am I doing? But then I have moments like this weekend and I'm like, this all makes sense. Like, I'm so fucking happy. Like, Sunday night, like, I would have been a different person, I think, after seeing like the way the team was and stuff like that. So to go back to the question, am I happy? Sometimes, I suppose, would be the best answer for that. And it's just me being honest. Like, I could come on you and go, fuck yeah, I'm thrilled, like everything, but I'd just be lying. So it's like, and I really don't want to be that person anymore. Like, I was the king of fucking bullshit. And all my mates would say that. It's just like, I'd just be that, like, but I do it to be funny, if that makes sense. Like, that would be my thing, because I was like, I had no confidence whatsoever. Like you guys mentioned earlier, it was a cover up. It was like, oh, I'd be that dickhead then. Like, you know what I mean? That would create so much bullshit that it would be funny. It's like, people would go, oh, yeah. So, yeah, rabbit hole.
No, it's good.
But yeah, it's
good. I think it's like rewiring the brain, because like, you know, it's just about rewiring the thoughts, the empowering things that you're saying to yourself, and you know, like, you have them moments where it's sometimes, but ultimately knowing you can be, you're willing to be, and saying that, like, to yourself. Like, I'm going through healing, and I read a book, and it was great for that. And it's like, you know, I am willing to change. Like, I am willing to be happy. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I am really trying to. Like, and that's what I try and say to Mum. Because Mum sees me, and I know it upsets her, which fucking breaks me, the fact that she gets upset by it. But I'm like, I'm only like that because I just want you to have a better life. Like, that's why I get upset, because I'm like, I'm not happy because you're not happy. But she may go, I am happy. And I'm like, yeah, it's just because that's like...
But she might say it, but like, how does she feel? Yeah. Like, you know, words and feelings are different. And
exactly.
Like, you can feel it energetically, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the... I don't know. I think that was deep.
No, that's yeah, thanks for sharing it. It's powerful, but like, I've been through moments like that as well. The same, like, you know, I remember, when I was going through visa stuff.
Yeah, fuck.
I reckon, no joke, I reckon, like, I was probably unhappy for like 2 years straight. But something that's really happened to me, and something that I would say to you there, is like, all of that's okay. Yeah, it's all okay. Yeah. And something that helped me was just to release the judgment on that, because we put such a stigma around not being happy. Yeah. That is fine. And my spiel on that is always, I can't be happy all the time. Yeah, and that's happiness. Yeah. You know, part of happiness is, to me, is knowing that I can't be happy all the time. And that's fine.
You wouldn't enjoy it, would
and
you?
You're going to get a version of me wherever I'm at, and that's okay.
And that's one thing which I am trying to say to people. Like, I say it to mum all the time. I'm like, look, you may get me fucking like primetime Gareth today, where it's like everything is fucking amazing. Like, I'm so happy for what I do. But then you may get Gareth who hasn't had the best amount of sleep, or something's happened. I've received an email, or just somebody may have cut me off on the way to work, and it's so pathetic that makes me upset. But I am really trying to work on that.
I'd even reframe that though. Take the word out. It's not pathetic.
No, exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Exactly.
It's okay, and that's oftentimes it's not your fault. It's just a bit the awareness. All right, it's here. Okay, take the judgment out of it. It's okay. It's all right.
What would happen if you didn't express that emotion as well?
It would be even worse.
Exactly. You don't want to bottle that up either.
Yeah, and that's what I tell. Like, I fucking broke my hand the other day, which I told you about, in the salon because something stupid happened, and I punched the door, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, as soon as I hit it, mum was there, and I wasn't angry at mum or anything. I was angry because somebody had done something to mum, and I punched the door, and as soon as I hit it, I was just like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? You know, that like every bit of anger went out of me, and I instantly went, what the fuck have I just done? Like, seriously, what am I doing? Like, how childish is that for a start? But that's my out. And that's what I was saying. It's like, it's so fucking stupid that is my out. But I hit it, and I instantly felt better, apart from the fact I was like, I may not be able to cut hair again. Like, that was my instant thing. I was like, shit, will I be able to cut hair again? So just stupidity comes back to that. But I'm learning every day, and that's what I mean, like being around you guys and having access to those tools as well, and the resources, like just being able to like message you guys, like that alone is a massive tool. Like, you two may not know that, but like just to have that to somebody to just go, I just need to vent for 2 seconds, like, and to have somebody to go, well, I'll listen then, because a lot of people don't listen, and that sounds really sad, but a lot of people just be, I'm too busy. Like, I got too much going on. Like, don't speak to me.
And we listen with the intent to help as well.
And that's
like,
that's the main thing.
We don't beat around the bush either. You know, when there needs to be something said, we'll say it. You know.
Absolutely.
But no, it was a pleasure. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for having us.
Cool podcast. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, great.
I'm sure we'll have another one for sure.
Yeah, you'll have to come on over.
There'll be plenty. There'll be plenty.
There's a lot left unsaid there. There's a lot of things
left
on the table. But where can our listeners find you?
So probably Instagram's the best one. The Barber Academy AUS, I believe it is the tag or username. I believe I'm not really cool with the kids, so I don't know what the correct term is.
The handle.
And you'll see everything on there. You'll see our own personal accounts. You'll see you guys a lot on there as well. So follow our story on there. It's just the beginning, which is hilarious and so cliche, but it's like, it is literally just the beginning. We've been doing this, if you think, since Jan.
Yeah.
And it's like, look what we've done already in 6 months, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like what I said, I can't wait to see where we are in 6 months. Holy shit. Like, it's
exciting.
It's exciting.
Rocket emojis. Yeah, so we'll be in a metaverse, right?
Yeah. That'll be interesting times.
I know.
Hopefully not.
Nah, it's I know. Who knows? Fucking hell.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, all of them things.
Follow.
All the good things.
All the good things.
Give us a little comment. Give us a review. It really helps, you know.
Be nice to me.
It really helps. Share your thoughts. Share your wisdom. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Until next time. Next episode actually is marks our year-long episode.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Episode 26, every 2 weeks. So it's our year doing the podcast.
Yeah.
So we got a little surprise for you for that.
We're not going to tell you what we're going to do, but it's a little surprise.
I love it.
We got a surprise. We'll tell Gareth once the camera's
off. Don't worry, I'll tell everyone.
Right.
No,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.